The sand is hot. It's soaked with things you try not to think about. Sweat, urine, and the blood of the man who fought before you. The roar of 50,000 people is a physical force, a wall of sound pressing in on you. Across the arena, your opponent raises his trident. He is a slave, just like you. A prisoner of war, just like you. And in a few moments, one of you will be bleeding out on this very spot, all for the entertainment of the crowd. This is your life, and most likely, this is your death. Your only choice is whether you will die well. Because today, you are a Roman gladiator, and your suffering is the main event.
Why it sucks to be a Roman gladiator. You probably weren't born a Roman citizen. Maybe you were a Thracian warrior, a Gaul, or a German tribesman captured on the battlefield after your village was burned to the ground. Or perhaps you were simply a slave, strong but disobedient, and your master decided you were worth more as a potential killer than as a field hand. You could even be a criminal, condemned by the state not just to die, but to die publicly as entertainment, a sentence known as damnati ad gladium, condemned to the sword. You are now considered infames, disgraced, without legal rights, on the same social level as a pimp or an actor. You are no longer a person, you are property. You are sold to a man called a Lanista. He is your owner, your warden, and your manager. He takes you to his school, the Ludus, which is less a school and more a high-security prison. The walls are high, the windows are barred, and guards are everywhere. This is where your old life is systematically destroyed. Your name is taken from you. You are given a new one, a stage name. You are stripped of your clothes and given a simple loincloth. You are branded with a hot iron, marking you forever as the property of the Ludus. Your journey begins with an oath, the Sacramentum Gladiatorium. You are forced to swear to your Lanista that you will endure, to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten, and to be killed by the sword. You have just legally consented to your own torture and death. The cage is locked. Your day starts before the sun rises. You are roused from your small, shared cell and herded into the training yard. The work is relentless, designed to break you down and rebuild you into a killing machine. For 6 to 7 days a week, you train. You begin with the palace, a 2-meter-high wooden stake driven into the ground. For hours, you attack it with a wooden sword, the rudis, and a wicker shield, both of which are twice the weight of the real weapons you'll use in the arena. This builds inhuman stamina and strength. Your trainers, often retired gladiators themselves, scream at you, beating you with rods for any mistake. A low shield, a slow swing, a moment of hesitation. The diet is not what you'd expect. You are nicknamed hordeari, the barley eaters. Your meals consist almost entirely of high-carbohydrate foods like barley, beans, and oats. This isn't to make you lean and muscular. It's to build up a thick layer of subcutaneous fat over your muscles. This layer of fat is a strategic advantage. When you are cut in the arena, and you will be cut, the wound is less likely to hit a major artery or nerve. A fleshy cut bleeds spectacularly for the crowd, but it keeps you on your feet, prolonging the fight and the entertainment. Your body is being engineered to suffer longer. Every meal is a reminder that your health is secondary to your performance. Injuries are constant. Broken bones, dislocated joints, and infected wounds are a part of daily life. The Ludus has a medicus, a doctor, but his job isn't to heal you. It's to patch you up just enough to get you back in the fight as quickly as possible. Control in the Ludus is absolute, a blend of psychological manipulation and brutal physical reality. The oath you swore hangs over every waking moment. You have willingly submitted to this life. You are chained in your cells at night, not just to prevent escape, but to reinforce your status as less than human. Hunger is another tool. Your food rations are carefully controlled, enough to build your body for the fight, but never enough to make you feel comfortable or secure. Your only hope for a better meal or a small comfort is to perform well in training, tying your very survival to your willingness to become a better killer. The ultimate control is the ever-present threat of a meaningless death. If you are defiant, if you refuse to train, you won't just be whipped, you could be sentenced to a far worse fate than the arena. You could be condemned ad bestias, thrown to wild beasts, unarmed, for the crowd's lunchtime amusement. Or you could be forced to participate in a fatal reenactment of a myth, burned alive as Hercules or gored as Orpheus. The knowledge that a clean death by the sword in the arena is a privilege keeps most men in line. You are isolated from the outside world. News from your home, if it exists anymore, never reaches you. Your only family is the other men in the ludus, men you live with, eat with, train with, and may one day be forced to kill with your own hands. In this suffocating darkness, is there any hope? Psychologically, you are being torn apart. You were taught to suppress all fear, all empathy. The man you kill in the arena is just an obstacle, yet you see his face in every other man in your barracks. This breeds a strange, fractured camaraderie. You might share a drink with a fellow gladiator one night, knowing that next week the crowd could be screaming for you to drive a sword through his neck. The mental toll is immense. Many gladiators likely suffered from a Roman equivalent of PTSD, haunted by what they had seen and done. The glimmer of hope, the one thing that keeps you going, is the dream of freedom. A highly successful gladiator could become a superstar, a celebrity throughout the empire. Their images were on pottery, their names scrawled as graffiti on walls. Women of high society might pay for a night with a famous champion. With enough victories, you might be awarded the Rudis, the wooden sword that symbolizes your freedom. You could walk out of the ludus a free man, perhaps even to become a trainer yourself. But this is a fantasy for all but a tiny few. For most, the only other way out is escape. But this is a near impossible gamble. The revolt led by Spartacus, a Thracian gladiator, is famous precisely because it was so rare. For the average gladiator, an escape attempt that fails means one thing: crucifixion along the nearest highway, a slow and agonizing death designed as a warning to any others who might dream of running. So, what is your life expectancy? Brutally short. While not every fight was to the death, a well-trained gladiator was an expensive investment for a lanista. The risk was always there, though. Historians studying gladiator cemeteries have found that most died in their early 20s after only a handful of fights. The end could come in many ways. The most obvious is in the arena itself. You are wounded, brought to your knees. Your opponent stands over you, awaiting the verdict. You raise your finger, a plea for mercy, not to your opponent, but to the editor of the games, the man in the stands who organized the event. He, in turn, looks to the crowd. Their reaction, the infamous pollice verso, or turn thumb, though the exact gesture is debated, seals your fate. If they cheer for you, you might be spared. If they are bored or unimpressed, the editor will give the signal, and your opponent will finish the job. But the arena isn't the only exit. A seemingly minor wound could become infected in the filthy conditions of the ludus, leading to a slow, feverish death in your cell. The relentless training could lead to a fatal injury. Or, after a few too many losses, your lanista might simply decide you are no longer a good investment and sell you for a one-way trip to the beast hunts. For the vast majority, there is no retirement. There is no old age. There is only the fight and then the end. The gladiator games were not just a sport. They were a cornerstone of Roman society, a system of political and social control known as panem et circenses, bread and circuses. The ruling class understood that by providing the masses with free food and spectacular, bloody entertainment, they could distract them from poverty, corruption, and political unrest. The games were a massive spectacle demonstrating the power of Rome. They showed the fate of the Republic's enemies and reinforced the idea that the lives of non-citizens, slaves, and criminals were worthless and disposable. At its peak, the Colosseum in Rome could hold up to 80,000 spectators. To celebrate his victory in Dacia, the Emperor Trajan held games that lasted 123 days and involved over 10,000 gladiators. It was state-sponsored mass slaughter, and you were the raw material. So when you imagine the Roman gladiator, don't picture a chiseled Hollywood hero fighting for glory. Picture a terrified, desperate man snatched from his home, stripped of his identity, and forced to kill for the amusement of a bloodthirsty crowd. His body was not his own. His life was a commodity to be bought, sold, and spent. He might have heard thousands chanting his name in his final moments, but in the end, he was just another body to be dragged out of the arena, leaving a dark stain on the sand for the next poor soul to stand on.